Commander Elias Ward lived for routine. On Kelon 3 Outpost, a lonely human station orbiting a gray desert world, every day looked the same. The same patrol reports, the same silent stretches of space, the same dull rotation of crew members who played cards, drank recycled coffee, and counted the days until their contract ended. For Elias, boredom was safety. The galaxy beyond was dangerous, filled with alien empires whose wars never touched Earth only because humanity was still small, still hidden, still considered irrelevant. Kelon 3 was proof of that irrelevance. It was a listening post, a forgotten station guarding a planet that no one wanted. Elias had served here for 3 years and nothing had ever happened, until tonight. It started with silence. Elias woke in his quarters to a sound that wasn't a sound at all, an absence, a stillness that pressed against his ears. His room was dark except for the faint blue glow of the status lights on the wall. Everything looked normal. Yet his skin prickled as if the air itself had shifted. And then she was there. No door opened. No alarm rang. No shimmer of teleportation appeared. One moment the room was empty. The next she stood at the foot of his bed. A woman, but not human. Her skin carried a faint silver hue that caught the light and gave it back softly, like moonlight reflected on water. Her eyes were sharp, luminous, with an intensity that held him frozen. She had a kind of beauty that felt both natural and alien, not painted or artificial, but undeniable, like the elegance of a storm about to break. In her hands, she carried something crystalline, glowing faintly with shifting colors. She let it fall to the floor. The object hit with a sound too heavy for its size, a deep thunk that echoed in the small cabin. Then she spoke. Her voice was low, steady, and certain. "You are mine." Elias's heart slammed against his ribs. Training told him to reach for the alarm, to call for security, to do something. But something in her voice rooted him to the bed. Not because it compelled him, but because it was so completely out of place. "You what?" he managed. The woman did not blink. She stood with perfect stillness, shoulders squared, gaze unshaken. "You are mine. I claim you." Before Elias could respond, the door burst open. Lieutenant Harper, his second in command, stormed in, weapon raised. "Commander, are you—" She froze when her eyes landed on the stranger. What in hell? How did she get here? The station's alarm suddenly wailed. Red lights filled the corridors outside, and shouts echoed from the intercom. Security scrambled to respond, but the stranger didn't move. She looked at Elias, and only Elias, as if the entire universe had narrowed down to him. "I came here for you," she said, "and only you." The security team arrived seconds later, rifles trained on her. Their scanners showed nothing. No energy readings, no transporter signals, no breach of the station's shields. It was impossible, yet here she stood. "On the ground," Harper barked. The woman did not obey. Instead, she tilted her head, almost amused. "Your weapons mean nothing." She raised one hand, and the rifles sparked, shorted, and went dark. Every gun in the room died at once. Gasps and curses filled the cabin. Elias's crew had faced malfunctions before, but never like this. Never so clean, so controlled. Elias stood slowly. His instincts screamed at him to regain control, to stop this before the crew lost confidence. He stepped between her and his officers. "Who are you?" he demanded. She met his gaze without hesitation. "Lyra," she said simply, "of the Chyrix Dominion." The word struck Elias like a blow. He had heard of the Chyrix, everyone had. Whispers in the dark about a civilization that consumed entire systems, that enslaved whole species, that demanded tribute from anyone who wanted to survive. The Chyrix Dominion was not a name spoken lightly. "You expect me to believe," Elias said carefully, "that one of the most feared empires in the galaxy sent you to walk into my quarters without warning?" "They did not send me," she corrected. "I came of my own will." Her eyes softened slightly, but her voice remained steady. "And I came for you." The room grew colder, Or maybe it only felt that way. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. No one knew what to say. Elias forced himself to stay calm. Why? Lyra's answer was as strange as her arrival. Because you carry what my people seek, what the galaxy itself has forgotten, and because without me, you will not live long. Enough to understand why. The alarms outside continued to blare, but none of it seemed to matter in that moment. Elias stared at her, trying to decide if this was madness, a trap, or something far more dangerous. Harper finally spoke, her voice sharp with distrust. Commander, we should lock her down. Interrogate her. No one just appears inside a human station. She's playing some kind of game. But Elias wasn't sure. Lyra had not attacked. She had not demanded power, weapons, or control of the outpost. She had only claimed him, strangely firmly, as if it were the simplest truth in the world. And that was what unsettled him most of all, because deep down, against all reason, some part of him believed her. The room still smelled of metal and recycled air when Lyra spoke again. Her presence seemed impossible to ignore, as though the space around her bent slightly, making everything else feel dull by comparison. The crew's confusion had turned into tension. Weapons had been disabled, alarms had stopped mattering, and every human present could only watch as she moved calmly across the floor. Elias's heart pounded in a strange rhythm. His mind raced for logical explanations. None came. She was here, uninvited, untouchable, and now, impossible to ignore. You must understand, Lyra said softly. I do not claim you to harm you. I claim you to protect you. Protect me? Elias repeated. His voice was tight, laced with skepticism. From what? Her gaze didn't falter. From the galaxy itself. From powers that have watched your species and waited. You carry a trait that no one else has. Something ancient and unique. Something dangerous in the wrong hands. Harper's eyes narrowed. You mean humans are valuable? Because last I checked, we were nothing but a small, unimportant race. You are far more than you know, Lyra said. And that is why I am here, to make sure you survive long enough to realize it. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Value didn't usually come without cost, and the history books were full of humans being eaten alive by more advanced species. Still, there was something about her presence that made arguing feel strangely irrelevant. Elias clenched his fists. You come into my station, disable our weapons, claim me as yours, and then expect me to believe this story? She tilted her head, a small, knowing smile appearing. I do not expect you to believe. I expect you to survive. And whether you understand now or later, that will be enough. For a long moment, the room fell silent. Only the faint hum of the station's life support remained. Elias studied her carefully. There was no threat in her stance, no malice, no hint of aggression, only certainty, and yet certainty alone could be deadly. Why me? He asked finally. Why not someone more powerful? Why pick me? Because you are human, Lyra replied simply. Humans have something no one else has. Resilience, ingenuity, a spark of unpredictability. You survive because you adapt, not because you are the strongest or the fastest and now you are needed. Needed for what? Harper interrupted. Her voice was sharp, a blade cutting through the tension. You say humans are special. You say I should trust you, but right now all I see is an alien who walked in and said we belong to her. That doesn't sound like protection. That sounds like slavery. Lyra's expression softened. I do not ask for trust. I ask only for your attention. What I bring is not a demand. It is a warning. The galaxy will come for you, and I came to ensure that when it does, you are ready. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. Every fiber of his being screamed that this was insane. Yet, she was right. In 3 years on Kalon 3, nothing had prepared him for this, and, suddenly, the world felt like a much larger, much more dangerous place. Explain, he said finally. Explain everything you can. Starting now? Lyra nodded. She took a step closer, careful not to touch anyone, yet commanding attention as if gravity itself bent toward her. The Kyrix Dominion has searched for humans for centuries, not because we wish to harm you, at least not always, but because you are the only species capable of resisting certain influences. There are powers in the galaxy that can bend minds, conquer civilizations, and enslave entire species. Humans can resist them. The word sounded like a myth. Resistance? Against psychic domination or alien control? Impossible, yet the conviction in her voice made it hard to dismiss. Why would anyone fear us? Elias asked. We're barely relevant on the galactic stage. Even the Dominion treats us as minor. That is why you survived, Lyra said. Minor, overlooked, underestimated. That is humanity's advantage. You can slip under radars, adapt to threats, and strike when no one expects. I came because you carry a key that can shift balances of power across entire systems, and you are not safe until it is fully awakened. Harper's eyes narrowed further. So we're being hunted? Yes, Lyra admitted. And no, not exactly. The ones hunting you are not yet aware of your potential, but they will be. And when they discover it, they will come. That is why I claimed you. Not as a possession, not as a servant, but as someone I will protect, even if I must defy my own empire to do so. Elias felt a weight settle on his shoulders. The words were heavy, but they carried a strange relief. At least he now understood the danger. At least he now. The silence that had settled over Kelon 3 outpost did not last. Hours after Lyra's arrival, the station's sensors detected unusual activity beyond the orbiting satellite shields. Small, fast-moving ships, sleek and black, weaving through space with deadly precision. They weren't Kyrix ships. Elias recognized the signatures from old intelligence reports, a minor faction of raiders, pirates, or mercenaries who had been tracking alien signals. They're coming for us, Lieutenant Harper said, her voice tense. She studied the displays, as blinking red lights indicated incoming targets. But why? We aren't carrying anything, are we? You are, Lyra said quietly, her eyes scanning the radar. They know something is here. They know something is important. I did not anticipate they would come so soon. Elias gritted his teeth. We're sitting ducks. A small station, 50 people, and a handful of weapons. How do we survive? Lyra smiled faintly. Not with weapons you already know, with what you have yet to imagine. Panic rippled through the crew, but Elias forced them to focus. They only had minutes. Outside, the raider ships formed a crescent around the outpost, their engines glowing, red against the black void. The first salvo struck, blasting the outer shield. Alarm screamed, sparks flew. Return fire, Harper yelled, but the human cannons barely grazed the attackers. The raiders were faster, more agile, and far more experienced. Elias knew that conventional fighting would fail. Stop thinking like soldiers, Lyra said suddenly. Think like humans. Use what you have. Use what you can. Elias stared at her. What do you mean? She gestured at the control panel. Your weapons are limited. Your shields are weak. Your crew is small. None of that matters if you can. Outsmart them. Outthink them. Adapt faster than they can predict. Something inside him clicked. That spark she had spoken of, the one that made humans different. He felt it now. They were outnumbered and outgunned. They could die if they did nothing, or they could survive because they could think differently. All right, Elias said. Harper, we'll set up decoy drones around the perimeter. Rig the engines to create false signatures. Everyone else focus on rerouting power to shield nodes that can't be hit directly. Make them think we're stronger than we are. Harper hesitated. Commander, that's risky. The drones, if they detect the trick. Risky, Elias interrupted. Is better than dead. Now move. The crew scrambled, working together with a coordination they had never achieved under normal circumstances. Drones were activated, then programmed to emit false energy readings. Engine outputs fluctuated, making the outpost appear to jump unpredictably. Shields were rerouted to sections that could rotate, giving the illusion of invulnerability. Lyra watched quietly, nodding with approval. The raiders' first wave attacked, lasers slicing through space. The decoy drones flashed in their sensors, appearing like multiple outposts. The raiders fired, overcompensated, and their shots missed. One ship misjudged the rotation of the outpost shield and crashed into the planet below. Another barely escaped as a misrouted blast of energy from the human station hit its engine core. Elias allowed himself a brief smile. See? Creativity beats brute force. Lyra's silver eyes gleamed. Yes, humans are unpredictable. That is your advantage. That is why you survive where others fall. The raiders regrouped, more cautious now. They tried to flank the station, but Elias had anticipated this. Using rerouted power, he manipulated the station's small magnetic field generators to create localized gravity anomalies. Small ships, unfamiliar with these irregularities, spun out of control, colliding with debris fields, their engines overloading in sparks and fire. The crew worked in perfect sync. Every human action seemed chaotic to the raiders, but was part of a deliberate strategy. One engineer even used a magnetic tether to redirect a disabled raider ship into the path of another, causing a chain reaction of destruction. "This is amazing," Harper muttered, her hands flying over the controls. "I've never seen anything like this." Elias shook his head, not out of disbelief but understanding. "We're not just reacting. We're forcing them to react to us. That's the difference." Lyra stood behind him, her arms folded. "You are beginning to understand. This is why I came. Humans survive not because of strength but because of imagination." As the battle raged outside, Elias realized something else. This was more than defense. This was a test. Not a test set by aliens, but a test set by the universe itself. Could humans, small and underestimated, survive where others would fail? Could a few people thinking creatively overcome a far superior force? He looked at his crew, sweaty, tense, hearts racing, and felt a surge of pride. They were scared, yes, but they were also alive. They were thinking, adapting, improvising. They were human. "Incoming boarders," an alarm screamed. Small raider. Crafts were attempting to breach docking ports. Elias cursed. They had to hold the station intact. Lyra's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. "Do not fear. Let them try. Humans have an instinct others lack. You will see what I mean." The raiders tried to force the airlocks, but every port had been rigged with improvised traps. They used motion sensors, pressure valves, and even overturned maintenance carts to slow the invaders. Every step the raiders took, humans anticipated, adapted, and turned the station itself into a weapon without ever using lethal force, except when necessary. By the time the raiders realized the station was a maze of unpredictability, half their ships were disabled, and they began retreating. They had underestimated humans. They had counted on fear and small numbers. They had counted on predictability and found none. When the last ship fled, the station was damaged but standing. The crew breathed heavily, hands shaking, faces streaked with sweat and dust. Elias leaned against the console, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra stepped forward, her silver skin faintly glowing in the dim lights. "Do you see now?" she asked. "This is your gift. This is why I claimed you. Not because you are the strongest, not because you are the fastest, because you think, you adapt, and you survive where others fail." Elias nodded, a smile spreading despite the exhaustion. "We survived, because we were human." She returned the smile, rare and small. "Yes, and the galaxy will take notice. Soon, many will come to challenge you. But remember this. Your advantage is not power. Your advantage is unpredictability. That is humanity's weapon." Elias turned to his crew. "We did it. Together. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us dangerous. Remember this. For the first time since Lyra had entered his life, Elias felt something he had never felt in 3 long years on Kalon 3 hope. And for the first time, he realized that being claimed by an alien was not necessarily a threat. It could be the beginning of something far greater. Outside the station, the stars seemed to glow a little brighter, as though acknowledging the resilience of humans and the spark they carried within them. The station was quiet again, the echoes of the battle fading into the hum of Kalon 3's machinery. Elias walked through the corridors, feeling the lingering tension of what had just happened. His crew worked silently, repairing damaged panels, rerouting power, and checking every system. Despite the victory, no one truly relaxed. Out there, in the darkness beyond the station, the galaxy was alive and dangerous. Lyra followed him, moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost natural in the cramped corridors. Elias finally stopped, turning to face her. "Tell me the truth," he demanded. "Why us? Why humans? And why did you claim me?" Her eyes met his, silver and unyielding. "It is not just you, Elias. It is your species. Humans carry a resonance that has been lost in nearly every other civilization." He frowned. "Resonance? I don't understand." "It is a genetic trait," she explained, her voice calm. "A trait that allows you to resist psychic domination, mental control, influence, powers that could bend other species to will without them even realizing it. You are immune in ways the galaxy cannot comprehend, and for that reason you are dangerous." Dangerous. Elias blinked. He had fought pirates, survived meteor storms, endured isolation. But dangerous on a galactic scale was different. This was not just survival. This was a trait that could change the fate of entire systems. "So," he said slowly, "the Dominion fears us. They want to control us, and you came to protect me. Why me specifically?" Lyra's gaze softened slightly. "Because of your choices. Because of how you think. Humans do not follow rules blindly. You adapt. You challenge assumptions. You survive where others fail. I claimed you because I knew that in you the resonance would manifest fully. In others it may lie dormant. In you, it will grow." Elias ran a hand through his hair. "And if you hadn't come? If they found me first?" Her expression hardened. "Then you would have been used, controlled, turned into a weapon without knowing it. That is why I came ahead of them. That is why I claimed you, to ensure you remain free, and to teach you how to use what you have." Harper, standing a few feet away, crossed her arms. "So, humans are secretly one of the most powerful species in the galaxy? And we didn't even know it?" "Exactly," Lyra said. "And that ignorance is why you survived so long. Empires dismissed you. Minor factions overlooked you. But now the galaxy has noticed. And they will come." Elias leaned against a wall, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. He had faced danger before, but never like this. Never with the knowledge thing made him a target. Not for conquest, but for control. The quiet that followed the raider attack was broken by a new, more ominous signal. The station's long-range scanners flickered as they detected a massive fleet entering the sector. Elias leaned over the console, eyes wide. "Kyrix ships," he muttered. The shapes were unmistakable, sleek, metallic, perfectly coordinated. This was no small raider group. This was an empire, coming with full force. "They've found us," Harper said, gripping the edge of the console. "How many? Hundreds?" Lyra's silver eyes scanned the data calmly. "More than you can count. And they have come to take you. But they will not succeed. Not if you remember what makes humans different." Elias exhaled, tension coiling in his chest. The humans had survived minor attacks before, but this was a full-scale assault by one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Every instinct screamed that they were doomed. "Do we run?" Harper asked. Lyra shook her head. "Running will not save you. They expect fear. They expect humans to flee. But humans do not survive by fear. Humans survive by thinking. by adapting, by creating. The station's crew sprang into action. Elias issued orders with sharp precision. Decoy drones were deployed around the orbit, creating false targets that mimicked the station's movement. Shields were rerouted and reinforced where possible. Every engine thruster, every weapon, every sensor was optimized for unpredictability. "You need to stay alive," Lyra said, moving among them. "Mung, do not act recklessly. Let the Dominion underestimate you. They will. That is your advantage." The first Kyrix ship struck. Energy beams slammed against the station, shaking the hull. Sparks flew, alarms blared. Yet the humans were ready. Drones flashed in patterns designed to confuse the attackers. The station shifted unpredictably, making it almost impossible for the fleet to get a clean hit. Elias watched the sensors, heart pounding. "It's working," he whispered. "We're slowing them down." Lyra nodded. "You are not strong enough to overpower them, but strength is not required. Ingenuity is." Hours passed, the battle stretching into the void of space. The humans worked like a single organism. Engineers rerouted power mid-strike, creating localized shield bursts that repelled incoming fire. Pilots flew the drones with surgical precision, drawing the enemy into traps. Even minor repairs were completed in real time, keeping the station functional despite continuous assault. One small Kyrix ship managed to break through the decoy line, aiming directly for a docking bay. Elias's heart jumped. But then, a maintenance tether, an improvised tool he had ordered rigged moments before, snagged the ship, flipping it uncontrollably into the path of another attacker. The two ships collided in a bright explosion, sending debris scattering across space. Harper let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We're actually doing this." Elias allowed himself a brief smile. "We're not just surviving. We're showing them they misjudged us." Lyra's gaze softened. "This is the spark I spoke of. Humans survive because no one expects what you will do next. And now they see it firsthand." The Kyrix fleet adjusted tactics, attempting to trap the station in a pincer movement. But Elias had anticipated this. Using a combination of engine bursts and shield rotation, the humans made it appear as if the station had split into multiple locations. The attackers fired at the wrong coordinates, their formations breaking apart. "Every move they make, we counter," Elias said. "Not because we're stronger, but because we're unpredictable." Lyra's eyes gleamed. "Exactly. You are. Proving it. Even against overwhelming odds, humans endure. Humans resist. Humans create victory where none seems possible." The battle reached its peak. Dozens of Kyrix ships converged on the station, coordinating their assault with precision. Yet every plan they made was met with unexpected human tactics. Drones forming sudden defensive walls, power surges that caused systems to overload, decoy ships moving in ways no alien mind anticipated. Even the station itself became a weapon. Magnets, gravity pulses, and rerouted thrusters created chaos for the attackers. The humans were small, but their actions were massive in effect. Hours turned into an endless stretch of conflict. Sparks, alarms, and the hum of engines filled the station, but the humans held. One by one, the Kyrix ships began to withdraw, their commanders realizing that conventional tactics would not succeed. Humans were not to be conquered like other species. Elias slumped against the console, exhaustion heavy in his limbs. "They're retreating," he said, disbelief mixing with relief. "They expected fear. They expected surrender. But you are human," Lyra said, her voice calm yet filled with approval. "And that is enough to make them hesitate." Harper laughed softly, disbelief in her tone. "We actually did it. We survived a full Kyrix attack. And we're still standing." "Yes," Elias said, eyes sweeping across the weary but determined faces of his crew. "We survived because we worked together. We adapted, we created, and most importantly, we didn't give up." Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand lightly on Elias's shoulder. "You are beginning to understand. Humans are underestimated, yes, but that underestimation is your strength. The galaxy will learn this lesson, whether it wants to or not." Elias nodded slowly, Exhaustion pressed against him, but pride and determination burned brighter. The humans had faced one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations and survived, not by sheer firepower but by creativity, unity, and will. The station, battered but unbroken, hummed in the quiet aftermath. The stars outside were silent witnesses to a small crew of humans who had defied an empire. Lyra's eyes glimmered with admiration, rare and subtle, for the humans she had claimed. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Other forces will come. Other powers will seek you, but remember this. What makes humans dangerous is not strength, not numbers, not weapons. It is your mind, your unpredictability, your refusal to yield. That is why you survived. That is why you will continue to survive." Elias gazed out at the void of space, the distant glow of stars reflecting on the station's hull. He understood now that survival was no longer a simple matter of routine or obedience. It was a matter of imagination, courage, and trust in his people. And for the first time he felt a certainty he had never felt before. Humanity would not just endure. Humanity would rise. The Kyrix fleet had left, but the universe had not forgotten. And neither would Elias and his crew. They had stood, they had survived, and they had shown, in no uncertain terms, that humans were not a species to be overlooked. The aftermath of the battle left Keelan 3 outpost scarred but intact. Smoke and sparks drifted through the station, and alarms still echoed in certain sections warning of minor damage. Elias walked slowly along the corridors, observing his crew as they repaired systems, recalibrated shields, and checked the life support modules. There was exhaustion on every face, but also a new sense of purpose. "They expected us to break," Harper said quietly as she tightened a panel. "They expected fear. But look at us." Elias nodded. "We did more than survive. We proved something today." Behind him, Lyra moved silently, her silver eyes reflecting the station's flickering lights. She did not interfere, but her presence was steady, reassuring. Elias felt the weight of her gaze, not as a commander, but as someone who truly believed in what humans could become. "You have changed the balance," Lyra said softly. "The galaxy will not forget today. You have proven that humans are not to be underestimated." Elias turned to her. "And the Dominion? They will return, stronger, better prepared." "They will," Lyra admitted. "But they will also hesitate. Humans are not predictable. That is why they respect you now, even in fear. What you have done will ripple across the stars. Other species will reconsider how they view humans, and you will be the spark they cannot ignore." Elias walked to the observation deck, staring at the expanse of stars. The galaxy had changed, even if only slightly, because of their actions. The Kyrix fleet had withdrawn, their pride wounded by the unpredictable creative tactics of a small group of humans. The victory was not just for the station, it was symbolic. Lyra joined him. "They may return, others may come. But humans endure, Elias. That is your strength. You adapt. You think differently. You survive where others fall, and that is why you have been claimed. Not as a servant, but as a force the galaxy cannot ignore." Elias looked at her, understanding dawning. "Claimed, but not owned." "Exactly," Lyra confirmed. "I pledge to protect you, yes. But also to witness, to help you realize what humans can become. The galaxy will try to bend or break you. But humans will always rise." He felt a sense of calm he had not experienced before. Fear had been replaced by determination. The first battle had tested them. The revelation had prepared them. The stand had proven them. And now, the future, uncertain and dangerous, stretched before them like the infinite stars. The crew gathered on the observation deck, still catching their breath. Elias addressed them. "Today we survived against one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. Not because we were stronger, not because we were faster, but because we were human, creative, unpredictable, determined. That is our weapon. That is our legacy. Harper smiled, a mixture of pride and disbelief in her eyes. I never thought I'd see the day when a human crew would drive off the Kyrix. I thought we'd be history before we even knew it. We're just getting started, Elias said firmly. They will come again. Others will come. And each time we will rise. Not because we are meant